Just a splinter of the mind's eye. Don Corleone, the Godfather, or was that Hamlet? Let me introduce myself. My name is Tony Tutotio. So welcome to Tony's Guitar Tutorials. That piece of music I just played you was called Speak Softly Love, written by Nino Rota and used for the theme on the Godfather movie, based on the book by Mario Puzo and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Now it's my intention, if you give me the privilege to do so, to help you out there in the cyberspace develop the skills you need to read music notation, if you have the desire to do so, and take the dots off the page and apply them to your guitar fretboard. For it's my belief, if you want to become a better musician, it's good to learn all the skills needed to achieve that goal. Now what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to sit there and say, put your finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string. Put your finger here on the 5th fret of the 4th string. I'm going to leave you kids to figure that one out yourself. Now a lot of people out there will dispute my philosophy with regards to reading music. They say you can be a good musician without reading the music. This is true. But you can be a better musician if you do read the music. It presents more opportunities for you. There's a lot more music out there for reading than tabulation. So it's good to read music. I'll give you an example. One day Joey, he sat in his apartment and he's reading the paper and he's going through the classified ads and he sees a vacancy, musicians wanted, for cruise ships. So he thinks, that's the job for me. I can sail on the 7 seas, I can see the world, I can speak to the beautiful women. Maybe I can have dinner with that Jerry Ryan off the Voyager, or that DePaul off the Starship Enterprise. So he thinks, I'm going to go for that job. So Joey goes off to the audition. Now the boss, he's crafty. And he says, come on in, Joey. Can you read that piece of sheet music? But there's no title on the music. So Joey doesn't understand what he's saying. But he does say to the boss, he says, I can't read no music, but I have the best ears in the neighborhood. You just play it for me a couple of times and I'll show you what I can do. And the boss says, hey Joey, you're a nice kid, but don't bang your ass on the door on the way out. So the next day, Joey sat in the street. He's playing his guitar. And he's got a little dog. And he's got a hat. And some people are throwing some coins in his hat. And he looks over the horizon. And he sees the cruise ship sailing off into the sunset. And he thinks to himself, if only I'd have taken a little time out to read that notation music, I could be on that ship. I could be sailing all over the world. I could be sitting in a deck chair by a swimming pool, maybe taking them photographs of that Paris Hilton. I'm going to put the tabulation up for you. I'm going to put the notation up for you, so you can correspond the two. We're going to go through some scales. We're going to go through chord positions, and I'm going to try and enforce understanding of music. So if you could stay with the program, that would be great. Now I have to cut the camera because I'm running out of memory space. I'll see you in a second, kids. Before we start, a little bit of history. Tabulation probably goes back to the mid-13th century and was developed by those old monks in the monasteries, dipping their quills into the ink and writing their 3- and 4-part harmonies for their Gregorian chants, so they could sing their praises to God and thank Him for the creation and the beauty that surrounds them. Now this form of writing continued on till possibly the mid-15th century and was very popular with the lutists of the day, people like John Dowland or Francis Cutting. But we'll get into a little Renaissance a little later on down the road. Even as Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven came right out of the Renaissance box. And then Jimmy Page came along and he lays down the A minor blues scale and develops one of the greatest rock songs ever written. Even that fat old tyrant, King Henry VIII, would have appreciated that one. And people like Bach and Mozart took the music and developed it, and it began to evolve and evolve and evolve until we've got the music that we listen to today. We didn't evolve, kids. We'd still be rubbing them old sticks together in the cave trying to make the fire. Now in these lessons, as I said earlier, I'm going to try and teach you to put the dots from the page onto your fretboard. And the first song we're going to work with is Nino Rota's Speak Softly Love. In fact, the melodic line comes out of an E third inversion minor chord. Now it's a third inversion chord because it doesn't start on the E, it starts on the B. If we count E, F, G, A, B, it's 5 degrees away from E, which is the tonic. So what Nino Rota has done, he's taken an E minor third inversion chord and broken it up into an arpeggio, which is a broken chord. And he's starting on the B, into the E, into the G, then to the F sharp. Then to an A minor 6. Which resolves beautifully into the E minor chord. Now the difference between the E minor natural scale and the E minor harmonic scale is the 7th degree. E minor natural, the 7th degree is a D. In the harmonic scale, it's a D sharp. You can hear the difference. And why he's using the D sharp is because it resolves creates more tension than the D natural. That's quite flat. That wants to go. Leaves you suspended, and it wants to go. It wants to fall to the E minor. You can feel the tension. It's like if you're making love to a beautiful woman, you're racing along, and you reach a peak, and you need to resolve. Relax, have a tequila sunrise, a cigarello, a few hugs and kisses before you start again. Before we start trying to make love to beautiful women, we gotta learn the tune first. So look on your sheet music, or look on your scales, your natural scale and your harmonic scale, and you'll see the difference in the scale. The E natural scale it kind of goes. Your E harmonic minor. He's taken an E minor chord and he's taken the B, which is in 5th position normally, and he's put it into 1st position. He's taken the E, which is usually at the top, and he's put that into 3rd position. And he's taken the G, which is usually the 3rd, and he's put that into 5th position. So we have a 3rd inversion E minor chord where the motif comes out of. Into an A minor 6. To an E minor, using the open strings to harmonize with the E. So let's start that run again. E minor, 3rd inversion. F sharp played with an open E. The F sharp is quite delicate, quite delightful, but the E puts a sour face on it. Now that's an A minor 6. If you look at your chord chart, you'll see the finger position for an A minor 6. The A minor 6 contains an F sharp. There's your natural A minor, add your F sharp. La, you've got that tone taking you to another direction. A minor 6. Now when I play this chord, it's A minor 6. When you're first starting, it's a hard one to get your head around. You've got to bring this little finger in, and you've got to place it on that F sharp. And you raise it. third inversion. A minor 6. Using an open B. And that's chromatic. There's no spaces or gaps between the notes as you run along the fretboard. Sorry about that, kids. That's a chromatic scale. So there's no whole steps or half steps. It's just straightforward half steps. And that's what he's doing here. Nino Rota's taking, he's using the A sharp as a passing tone. Play the A again. Back to the A minor 6. And you rest on that. Back to your E minor chord. So let's do that again. Slowly. You can hear it walk. It walks into the A minor. A minor, your 5th position, your C, your E. He's using that D sharp to have the tension. Here comes one of the most important chords in music. It's called the 5-7 chord. And when we're working in E minor, the 5-7 chord is B7. It's the chord that wants to resolve and put you back to your E minor. The B7, or the B, is the 5th degree of the E minor scale. And it's called the dominant, a bit like my ex-wives. We add the leading tone, which is the 7th, out of your harmonic minor scale. And it's a cadence. And cadences punctuate the music. It allows you to go back and rest. So we have dominant on the B and leading on the D sharp. So it contains those 2 vital notes or ingredients to bring us back. And then you can start the riff again. What Nino Rota does here, he uses this B7 chord and he adds a C. becomes a very important chord in any form of Western music. It's dominant because it derives from the 5th degree of the scale, and the leading tone, the 7th note, wants to lead back into the tonic. It wants to go home. What Nino Rota does then, he goes back into the E. And he plays the D and the D in the bass at the same time. We call that unison. 2 notes being played together. One in the bass, one in the treble. And what Nino Rota is doing here, he's going to take us to a D7 chord. The D7 chord is the dominant 7 chord from the key of G. The E minor natural scale comes out of the key of G, and it's the 6th degree. All natural minor chords come out of the major chords based on the 6th degree of the scale. G, A, B, C, D, E. The D, G, A, B, C, D, adding a C becomes the dominant 7th chord. And we'll see why he used it. Now don't worry about counting on your fingers, kids. If we didn't count on our fingers, Einstein wouldn't have given us E equals mc squared. So, this chord is the same finger position as the E minor 3rd inversion, except for we're moving it up the strings by 1 string. D7 is resolving, excuse me kids, is resolving to the G major chord. Kind of like he's saying, I love you, darling. And she replies. With the F chord, which resolves back to the E minor. Now, the F chord, in my opinion, is the one chord that makes or breaks a beginning guitar player. When I began to play the guitar, I found the F chord was the hardest chord to achieve, and sometimes even now, I struggle in getting the change in quickly. A lot of people put down a guitar because they can't cope with the F and play it because it's a bar chord and it's at the highest tension of the neck between the nut and the 1st fret. So you've got to put a lot of pressure on your thumb to hold that chord in place. Once you've held it in place, you've got your bar chords. Very important in working around the fretboard of a guitar. exercise for your kids. Good exercise to use your little finger, which we very rarely use in day-to-day life. It's just there. It kind of hangs out on its own, does its own thing, but we've got to train it. If your little finger is on this E note, then he's going on to that C note. And the mind doesn't seem to want to, at first, work with that little finger there. The little finger is saying, no, no, I'm going to do my own thing, and you've got to train it. So put it into position. Hold it nice and firm. It's going to ache a little while, but it's worth the pain. Little finger comes down on the D. Release it to a B, and bring your middle finger down onto the A and pluck the A and the F bass. And this is a very, very good practice. It gets you a little bit, keep doing it and doing it. Keep going over it until you get a nice smooth transition on the F. Once you've achieved the F, and you can play it comfortably. As I say, you've got use of your bar chords, but this is a tough old hombre, and you've got to break the psychological barrier to get to that F. A lot of music contains an F, especially country music. Let's do this again. We're going D7, dominant, resolves on the G, which is the tonic out of the key of G. F, A sharp, B flat. We're in the key of F, it would be a B flat. We're in the key of E minor. So I'm going to keep calling it an A sharp. And then we're back again. It's like, good night, darling. And we'll just finish with and finish this with the using your second finger on that E. You don't have to worry about it. You're in position with your little finger. That's what we call retentado, I believe. When you slow down, you need to slow down as you finish off the piece. Good night, darling. So I hope so far you've enjoyed what we've gone through. I'm going to upload different lessons with different ideas over the next couple of months. I'm not going to charge for these lessons. I'm not going to come on to you and say, hey kids, give me 25 quid. You know, these are totally free. I'm from the school that believes that knowledge should be given for free. I think you're charged enough for everything else in the world, never mind an education. And I know that this government has gone and charged you kids tuition fees, $30,000, $40,000 to get educated. To me, that's a disgrace. Education is a fundamental right for the progression of humanity. If we didn't talk to each other and educate each other thousands of years ago, we wouldn't have moved forward. Only those that had an education, if they kept it to themselves, would have died and it would have disappeared. Now these politicians, they all had a free education, kids, but they don't want to give you the privilege. And then when it comes to elections, vote for me. We'll look at the education, maybe give you a free education. Well, they're a bunch of liars, kids. The only thing they're interested in is what's in their pockets. They're interested in you and not interested in me. So I'm going to give these lessons for free. And I will upload possibly every 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to cover a little bit of Renaissance, a little bit of Baroque. We're going to cover some Spanish classical, some progressive rock, yes, Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, who were the cutting edge in the 70s of rock music and took rock music out of the box and progressed it. We're going to cover that. So I hope that you'll pass it on, what I'm trying to do. I hope you enjoyed the course, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take it easy, kids.